It's the best kind of team that I've ever worked with before, and I'm hugely proud. And so for them to be able to pull off, like I can design a masterpiece, but at the end of the day, it's up to my team to move it forward. And so for me, every single thing that I see on screen, I'm hugely proud of, and I'm hoping that it's some stuff that we've never seen before.
Whoa. Hello, Davina. I'm
nice
Rob.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Pleasure. Welcome to my world.
This is amazing. Can you tell me about where we are and what we're looking at today?
This one, we're looking at the Seanchan. The Seanchan, which you would have seen the end of episode 2 yesterday.
The new faction coming into town.
The new one coming into town, and the impressive sold arm that were in control of the Damane when you would have seen them on screen. And these are the bloods. These are these different elements of the Seanchan that we had to design. And starting off with Lord Tarok and Lady Saroth, which you would have seen with the mask. Wait till the mask comes off. It's pretty terrifying underneath there.
Can I ask you about that? So how much inspiration or details can you get from the books on the fine details?
I get a little bit from the books. So when I start reading the scripts, I get as much information as I can out of the scripts, and then I go to Rafe, the showrunner, and Justine, the writer, and then also I've got Sarah Nakamura, who is sort of like the guru in all things the books, and so she gives me more information. And so when I say to her, hey, because obviously in the scripts they give you as much detail as they can put in there, and then she gives me a lot more that I try and hit for the fans who are reading the books, and all these little details that I need to put in. But when it came to the sold arm, they didn't actually have anything, about their hair or anything about their makeup. And so that was a completely new design that I had to come up with. With Lady Saroth, I think for her, it was the long nails that we had to put in with her, and the fact that she had a certain look, which I can't go into detail yet until the mask comes off. But there were certain elements within the Seanchan that I had to hit within the hair, and as soon as all those masks come off, you'll see.
And for designing this, how much pre-production time do you have to design and iterate?
I didn't really have that much time to be honest with you, because once I came on board, I literally landed in Prague like a week later, and the sold arm was one of the first ones that I had to design. And the R&D of the testing to the scarification prosthetics that we had to design and make and manufacture, that all probably took roughly around about a month, and it was every day trying to test colours and see what worked and see what didn't come off during battles, and and trying to make them as terrifying as we can, and and the hair work that went into it as well. It was a lot.
I see we have some more.
Yeah.
Some new characters and returning faces.
Yeah, so Selena's a new character this season, the love interest of Rand. So she plays a big part in all of the books coming forward. So you'll see her a lot in season 2. And then over here we have, they go into where Moraine is from. Yep. She's from Cairn, and so it's French-Japanese inspired. And so again, we're trying to make wigs that sort of have that look to them, whether we go more French or more Japanese. And this was sort of like a high society party scene that we had to build all these wigs for. So it was pretty cool.
Speaking of Rand's new love interest, Rand himself is, well, I guess all of our heroes. Some time has passed in season 1.
Yeah.
Our heroes are back, and they all have a bit of a different style, especially with the hair. Perrin, of course, has longer hair and more fine beard.
Yeah.
Rand has gone buzz cut. Can you talk about his journey there?
Well, they were all growing up. And so for me, 6 months had gone by since season 1 finished into season 2. And so they're all off into their own journeys at this stage. And so they're all becoming young adults. And so we wanted to make sure that throughout the series that we make sure that they are, aging with us. Right. And so for Rand, it was a matter of, shaving his hair off, because he's also in a little bit of hiding. And so he's in Tarvalon into the Foregate. And so he's not wanting to be out, and for people to know who he is. So shaving off his hair, and of course he's not a natural redhead, so we had to colour him constantly, and so that was a lot of fun. And he looks impressive this season. I love his look. Easy to do.
And Perrin as well, is it longer hair or bigger beard?
Yeah, well, of course, those that know the book know, where Perrin eventually, gets to, and we see a little bit of that, coming forward throughout. We know the transition that he gets to at the end of season 2. So Perrin, for me, it was I had to hit the fact that we had to keep growing him and to get him to where he ends up eventually. And so for me, making his hair a little bit bigger for season 2, and then going forward and elongating the beard.
How much input, or do they have input, the cast members themselves, on their stylings?
A lot, yeah, a lot. I do a lot of discussions with them before they come to Prague and we start shooting. I'm talking to them like 5 weeks out, and so for me to be able to prepare the wigs, I have to do a lot of initial talking with them, because to build one wig is 4 to 5 weeks. And so I give them hyper-realistic concepts that I want to do, and so I send those over to them once they're approved, and then we start the discussion points. And majority of the time, they are really impressed with what I've come up with, and they want to develop that, and it kind of helps them step into the role of season 2, and when they go forward for season 3, and it kind of helps them develop and and with Perrin too, I've kind of developed him right up until he comes in to be a wolf-like, and so I've done the concepts for the next few passes, so he knows in his own mind where he's going to eventually end up.
And here we have some Aes Sedai designs.
Yeah.
A question I have with the Aes Sedai, and I guess any group of characters, if there's such a large amount and a large variety of them, how do you handle just the sheer volume?
Yeah, that's some days it's a problem. It's magic. Yeah, exactly. And I have something like 250 cast members, and and then you've got all the crowd on top of that. So it is massive. When you first start off on the season, it's slightly overwhelming and somewhat scary, and then you just got to break it down and just go, okay, I just got to do one character at a time. And so that's kind of my way of dealing with it. But when you come to the Aes Sedai, there is a lot, and then that world into the White Tower, they're all sort of high fashion, avant-garde look when they're in the White Tower. So it's a very stylized, put together look, and including the costumes, which are impressive. So we make sure that whatever Aja that they choose, the color that they are, whether they're brown, red, green, yellow, I have a hairstyle that kind of suits what Aja they are, and it kind of makes sense. And so when you're, a medical, so when you're a yellow, we kind of put a lot of flowers, and it's a lot of sort of healing vibes within the hairstyle. And then, of course, once you get to Leandrin, who's a red, and so, where she comes from, it's a lot of braiding. So I have to put a lot of braiding into Leandrin, but also severe. Right. So she's she's probably one of the characters that stays severe throughout.
So the costumes do help influence.
Yeah, 100%. Costume and I, we work really well together, and it's a huge collaboration.
Well, here we have our fan favorites.
Yeah, exactly right. So Moraine this season, she goes back into Cairn, which is where she's from, and she spends a lot of time there actually. And so for us, having a few versions of her hair before she travels out into the rest of the season.
For these two in particular, Lan and Moraine, can I ask you about the prosthetics work when it comes to their scarring? Because Moraine has a scar from
she
first
has
season,
a scar,
and Lan, of course, has battle scars all over.
Yeah, that's right. And so for that, we use it's a material called Pro Bondo. We also use like a silicone as well, and my department does those. And so Lan, he loves them. He loves to put on the scars.
Of course, gets to take his shirt off.
He gets to take his shirt off.
Likes that.
Yeah, exactly. And Moraine too. It's whenever we see anything, she has it on her chest from season 1. Yeah, so that'll never leave. That
How do you maintain the continuity of someone like Lan who has multiple scarring across his body?
It's tough, especially when he was, I think it was in the first episode when he's in Italy and he's sparring, and so it's hot, it's sweaty, and so it takes a lot of upkeep. Sometimes we have to replace them, but he's pretty good too. He he looks after them well. He helps us out.
Yeah, like you said, he enjoys that part.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, just this is maybe a broad question, but which character or characters were like the most challenging to realize?
Definitely the Seanchan.
Right.
Definitely the Seanchan. You know, there was just a lot of elements to go into them with costume in that as well, because when you first see them, they've all got helmets on, they're in battle mode. And so it was, what are they, and they look scary enough in that look. And then as the series develops, they take their, we end up, in a place where they have to take off their helmets. And so therefore, what does that look like underneath that? And so that is another element that I had to design up to make sure that we keep them looking as scary as we can. So it was great.
I know we talked about Lan doing a scene in Italy where it's hot, but just in general, when there are stunt sequences or a lot of action, does that affect how you have to think about hairstylings even?
Yeah, in a way, absolutely. And we kind of get that preview, I think, from the stunt department of whether there's going to be a lot of kind of swishing around and stuff like that, and whether they want that element within the costume and the hair to also swish with them. So there's a lot of those discussions, and then sometimes it'll be, whether they have swords that they have to take out, and then they'll come to me going, hey, Davina, it'd be really cool if we could have something that's slightly more together. And so we'll change the hairstyle again. But majority of the time, there's all of those slow-mos that happen, the skirts or the jackets
Especially in the
are flowing.
channeling as well, like the hair with the wind.
Yeah, exactly. So majority of the time they want all the hair out, so it's good for me.
My last question is, what are you most proud of, or what are you most excited for fans to see from the designs of all the characters in season 2?
Yeah, I think that the fact that we have gone to a huge amount of work from season 1 into season 2 to elevate the show even more, to make the show even more impressive going into season 2. And I think that me and my team, I've got a huge team of 56.
56?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and every single one of them, it's the best kind of team that I've ever worked with before. And I'm hugely proud. And so for them to be able to pull off, like, I can design a masterpiece, but at the end of the day, it's up to my team to move it forward. And so for me, every single thing that I see on screen, I'm hugely proud of. And I'm hoping that it's some stuff that we've never seen before. That's the most impressive thing for me.
It is extremely impressive. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this walkthrough.
Yeah, thank you so
It's
much.
great to meet you.
It was great to meet
Cheers.
you too.